Let's head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
If they're really saying Kenny Pickett has a chance to be the QB1 this year, is that their way of saying that we're tanking? Because that dude, we've seen him for 2 years in the division. He didn't do nothing for Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh carried him with a run game and a defense, and he barely won the games he did win. Why would you bring him to Cleveland? I don't understand. If they give him a chance to win, it just seems like they're trying to tank. And everybody's saying tank for Arch, but there's no guarantees that Arch Manning's going to come out after his junior year. He may want to play more than one season in college before he decides to come out. Listening to the meetings with Barry and Stefanski talking about that they like Kenny. Come on, man, stop. Kenny is not that good of a quarterback. Granted, he's in the NFL, but he's a backup and was traded from Pittsburgh for a reason. So just want to hear your thoughts. Go Browns.
As always, appreciate all of the voicemails. I can't argue with that. We saw him play a lot, and the problem the Browns have is they don't have $30 million to go and get a quarterback. The Deshaun Watson thing took care of that. It isn't a great quarterback class. There aren't a lot of quarterbacks available, and they need a quarterback. That's in a nutshell. And I know you wrote an article, and that it's kind of looking like there's an unexpected starting quarterback.
Yeah, like I said, I wrote in the article, watching the Steelers, you felt like as long as, I don't know if other people felt that way, but I felt as long as they believe in Kenny Pickett and he's their starting quarterback, they're really not going to go anywhere and you're not going to have to worry about him. But he asked for a trade when they signed Russell Wilson. They moved him on. He's now on his third team in 4 years. I look at it kind of like, okay, this is their shot to see if Sam Darnold the second is coming, or somebody that obviously has talent to be a first round pick, 20th overall. But I surely didn't look at him as the guy to be the starting quarterback this year. But the Browns, the way they talk and the moves they've made, they feel that he's a better option than some of the other guys that they could have signed. Now, granted, he was under a guaranteed, contract of 2.6 million, so that was attractive to him. But yeah, I mean, I still am holding out that they will make a move to get a Kirk Cousins will free up, and that would change the dynamics all the way around. And then you have a little more stability, not only a starter, but then you have a backup with experience, and you really could develop somebody. Because if you don't take a guy at number two, you don't have to start him. And most of the guys that, even if you trade back up, aren't projected to be ready to go right away. So you would want to have to buy yourself some time. Now they're in a position because Cousins and the Falcons, picked up that option. They really are in a position with Kirk Cousins having a no trade clause. He doesn't want to get traded to the Browns if they're going to draft Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward, and those one of those guys is going to be the starter. That's what happened to him. That blindsided him last year. He thought he was the guy with Atlanta with 180 million reasons that they would make him the quarterback, and then they drafted Michael Penix with the eighth pick. So now he doesn't want to get traded until he sees who makes that move. So if the Browns draft somebody at number two, at quarterback, I would think the door would be closed on Cousins, because I don't think he'd want to come here knowing that there's a quarterback that's going to start sooner than later. So if you get the Hunter approach, or you get Abdul Carter, then all of a sudden you say, Kurt, I'm assuming Rodgers goes to the Steelers. So that leaves one team with a starting quarterback need, and that's the Cleveland Browns. Now, you got a financial side of it, whereas, the Falcons are on the hook for 37 million, and you're going to have to probably absorb some of that to get them, but it just depends on how desperate they are. So, there's a lot of ways you can still look at this, but I still think that's your best bet. They're coming out strong with Kenny Pickett, but I cannot believe deep down, if they know they're not going to take Ward or Sanders, that they are just ready to go into the season with Kenny Pickett and a developmental quarterback, because I don't know if they're not going to. I mean, even Haslam said yesterday they're not going to tank or looking to tank, but boy, I don't know how you improved your team much, if this is what you're doing, other than, a couple draft picks. It could bode well for the future, but usually your draft picks don't come in and light the world on fire.
Yeah, and my reaction when they signed Kenny Pickett was, okay, they're not going to be forced to play whatever quarterback they draft until they're absolutely certain they want to. It's kind of how I viewed Kenny Pickett. He was the, break glass, use him so rookie doesn't have to go play before he's ready.